Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today we're going to be focusing on the Carissa Wiley Shine Line by Spellbinders, and there's so many great products in here. So we'll talk about each one a little bit, and obviously Miles is pretty excited about those too. We have the Shine Bright die. We also have this Layered Disco Impressions stencil, which he seems to be over the moon for. But this stencil goes with a couple of the different products, which is great. It can be used by itself, and it also can be used with a couple of the different products. And it comes with 6 stencils, so that's pretty great. And I use it, like I said, for a couple different products. We also have this Layered Shine Bright, which goes with that Shine Bright die if you want that. Otherwise, these work fine by themselves, but it's pretty great. It's got, I want to say 5 or 6 stencils in it as well as and a mask. I think it's 5 stencils and a mask. And I use it a couple different times, a couple different ways. So we'll show you. There's the mask, which works pretty good. I didn't do that one in particular, but that would be great if you wanted to do something to your background. But we got 3, 4, 5, 6 stencils and a mask. So we'll definitely use that one. You also have the disco ball dies. So this one can be used completely by itself, or it can be used with the stencil, which is great. I don't actually use this one today, but it's a really good one. It's got 3 different size disco balls, and you also have one of those dies that'll cut out different stars, different size stars. So that's a good one to have. We also have a foiling plate. Now that's specifically for foiling. You can't use that one with your BetterPress, but you can foil with it, or even make, I suppose, an impression with it. But that one is the sparkle background, and it's got that big background, and then you also have some sparkles and a die to go along with it. And then we have our BetterPress plates. So this one is our Sparkle On Disco Ball, or the Disco Impressions, my bad. Then this one is our Shine Bright Sentiment Strips. So you get your sentiment strips and your dies to go along with it. And then that final one is the Sparkle On. So that one's the Sparkle On. It has those 4 sentiments and also 4 dies to go along with it. So pretty great. We're going to use everything. And so we're going to do some BetterPress, and we're also going to be doing some foiling. I did decide to bring in one of my color cube cards. I think I've used this one before. It's definitely one of my faves, but it allowed me to go through some of my foils and pull out the ones that I thought would work really well. I don't use all those colors, but there are options, and I'll have those listed down below. And then I also used this card to help me go through my different inks so that we could come up with some ink combos also. I just thought that would be so pretty for this Shine Bright collection. So I'm going to show you how I make 2 cards, and then I'm going to show you 4 cards in the end. So I've got a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, so it's the full front of an A2 size card. And I'm just going to use a little bit of mint tape. I'm also sticking this down on top of my waffle flower grip mat. I've got my ink cube holder, and as you saw earlier, the various inks that I'm using. And I did mix and match. I'm using mostly Distress inks, but I did bring in a Simon Hurley Create ink as well. And I'm bringing in my blending buddy, and I'll blend those colors. So I started with that lighter color, and I believe that color, which I did not write down. No, wait, I did write it down. No, I didn't write it down. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm, oh, I'm using Salvaged Patina. Sorry about that. Next color I'm using, and it's pretty easy to line up, but I did want that tape at the top so I didn't accidentally go beyond. Then I'm using an orange color for our next one, and I'm going to blend that across, and you'll see how in the end how this will allow you to use just the stencil if you want to, but I do like how all of these products can work very beautifully together. So that one was some spiced marmalade. I'll bring in the next one, and this is the Simon Hurley Create ink that I'm going to use. I believe that's Triple Berry. But yeah, again, easy to line up. And I do have a blending buddy for each one of my colors. Well, each color family anyway. So we'll blend that on. And then the final color that I bring in is some Aged Mahogany, which this isn't definitely not a color combo that I would have chosen. That's why I really like that color cube, because it allows me to think outside the box a little bit, kind of branch outside of what I normally would grab. And then you can see exactly how that's going to give you your shine bright on there. I'm also going to use that final stencil because I decided since this says shine bright, I wanted it to shine a little. So it looks pretty good, but I want to bring in that last stencil and I'm going to pair it up with some Simon Hurley Create Frostbite. It's a glitter paste that they have. And that line of paste is called Astro Paste. So it's a paste with all these beautiful glitters in it. This one is a clear glitter. It's going to go on there, obviously, white, but when it dries, you'll see how clear it is. So I've decided I'm just going to put a bunch of that across the top, and I'll use a spreader. The reason I want to do that is because these inks are reactive to wet mediums, and so I don't want to be playing around too much with spreading that paste across there. So if I just do a little bit, it's not going to make that much of a difference. It does end up kind of doing a little bit of, I don't want to say bleeding, but it fuzzes up the edges a tiny bit, and you'll see that in the end when it's dry. But I actually like the look of it. So we'll set that off to the side to dry. And while that's drying, we're going to move on to doing the BetterPress. So I like to, if I'm going to make a batch of cards, especially if I'm using one color combination, I like to make all the elements and then I can just kind of piece my cards together as I go, because I feel like that to me is very inspiring, just kind of having all those pieces there. And so again, we're bringing in our BetterPress, and I'll show you how I do a couple of those if you've never seen the BetterPress before. I do have a playlist down below. You can go check out all the different BetterPress videos that I have if you're interested in that. And then these are also, the BetterPress plates, if you're unaware, are really great to use with your Glimmer Hot Foil System also. So keep that in mind. They have double uses. But I love my BetterPress, and yeah, I was on the fence for a while about getting it, and then I just decided, no, I'm gonna get it. I really love the letterpress look that it gives, and so that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna put those onto my magnetic BetterPress plate. I'm using some of that cotton BetterPress paper, and I'm gonna ink these up with that BetterPress black ink. You can see I've got various inks over there. I do also do the garnet color. I'm not gonna show you that, but you'll see those in the end. I BetterPress those with some garnet ink. Run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6. And then there was one that was a little too close to the edge, but I always clean my plates using some isopropyl alcohol and a cloth. And then that makes sure everything is good and clean before I put it away. And then I can move on to doing another one. And then I'm going to ink these up using Thunder, which is a gray ink. And those are those disco balls, the disco impressions. And we have our, again, some BetterPress paper that falls on there, but it surprisingly didn't pick up any of that ink. Because I hold my paper down with a little bit of mint tape. That stuff works great. And then that's that impression on there. It looks really good. All right, and so then this is where I want to move on after I clean these up. I want to move on and do a little bit of foiling. So I'm going to foil not only the plate that was originally intended for foiling, but I'm also going to foil the Sparkle on Sentiments, the Disco Impressions, and our Shine Bright Sentiment strips. I'm going to use some different foils. We've got silver, I use magenta, and I also have satin and rose gold. I don't use the rose gold, or satin rose gold. I don't use that satin rose gold, but I do use silver, magenta, and I use sky bright. So that's our silver, and I'm doing it on some gray cardstock. I know some people have a little bit of trouble using cardstock that isn't completely smooth. I have not had that issue. What I like to do is I take my paper and I build a sandwich. I've got my paper, I put my foil down pretty side up, and then I put my plate down on top of it. So it basically looks backwards, I guess. And then I put that all together using a little bit of mint tape. So as you can see, this is how I'm going to do it. Got my sandwich made. Paper, foil, plate. Tack it down with mint tape, and then I can stick that plate side down onto my Glimmer Hot Foil System. And I'm waiting for the light to turn green, and once it does, I'll hit that button, And that'll blink for a while, and once it's done blinking, then you'll know you are ready to run that through your machine. I usually use my quick trimmer, but today I just grabbed my Tim Holtz scissors and that cut fine. And that's that frostbite, that nice, really pretty light blue. So we're waiting for that to stop blinking. Once it does, we'll carefully pull this off of the machine. We'll put our sandwich of plates on top of that and then run that through our die cutting machine. I also have a full list of videos down below. You can see a whole playlist of Glimmer Hot Foiling because I enjoy doing it, but check that out. And then here's another one. And then as you can see here, we have all of our pieces. They're either better pressed or foiled or ready to go. Now we're going to do all of our die cutting. And once once everything is die cut out, I have everything sitting up at the top. And then we'll move on to the next bits. This for me, like I said, is very inspiring just to have everything ready to go, and then I can mix and match how I want to make my cards. I really love doing that. This is where I'm going to bring in the stencil. We've got that layered disco impressions stencil. And for me, it's easier because I have a grip mat, the waffle flower grip mat. I was able to die cut those out first. If you don't have a grip mat, it may be easier for you to stencil and then die cut. So just keep that in mind. I die cut first because of that grip mat. And then I'm bringing in various gray inks that I have. I think Lost Shadow, Hickory Smoke. Those are great. And I'm doing all three of the balls the same way. And then I finally, for that last step of the stencil, I'm going to bring in some Simon Hurley Create Shady Lunar Paste. I'm just putting that on with a palette knife, and I'll do that for all three of those as well. That'll just add an element of the shine. So we have that impression. You also have your gray inks that are blended on there, and then you're going to end up having that pop of shine that actually sticks out a little bit. So you got a lot going on with this disco ball, and I love it. I think it's great. So we'll pull back those stencils and let me show you how those look. So obviously it needs a second to dry or a little while to dry, but I'm going to set those off to the side to dry. While those are drying, we can start kind of thinking about the assembly of the two cards I'm going to show you. So I'm going to trim this down. Once again, that was our sparkle background. And I used the Sky Bright foil for it. And I did it on some purple cardstock. I think that looks pretty. And I'm going to use a card base. Now, all of my cards are going to be A2 size. So that means when they're closed up, they're 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I trimmed down this background to have a white border on that left-hand side. I like how that looks. I think that looks pretty good. And so as I'm still piecing things together, not sure how I want to do stuff, I did die cut out the Shine Bright sentiment. The shadow I did white and black, and then also the words I did white and black. Because to be honest with you, I wasn't sure which one I liked better or which one I was going to like better. So I figured I'd do both. And even if I didn't end up using one of them, I could just save it for another card. And while you're doing it, you might as well, right? In fact, I'm going to have a lot of extra sentiments sitting around at the end of this and even extra pieces, and that doesn't bother me. And while I'm piecing things together, I'm usually either chatting on the phone with a friend, or I'm FaceTiming a family member, or listening to an audiobook, and I just like to keep my hands busy while I'm doing stuff like that. I might even be sitting there embroidering, while I'm watching TV or whatever. I just really like to keep my hands busy. So I like how those look. I think both of them look pretty good. So in the end, I use both of them on a card. Because I love the boldness of it. And like I said, you could obviously skip this part if you didn't want to, but I love the added dimension of it. And so we're definitely going to use that. I'm going to tack down my panel to my card base just using some liquid glue, and it's going to cover the full front of that A2 size card. And then for our Shine Bright, I'm going to use some adhesive foam strips on the back. The ones that I have here are actually just foam strips. They are not double-sided. These ones are just foam strips. Every once in a while I like to use these because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. And especially since I'm putting these down over the top of a glitter paste, that Astro paste, using the liquid glue is really going to make it stick. If I just had a double-sided adhesive, it may not stick as well. So using that glue works really well. And like I said, a little bit of wiggle room if it's not perfectly straight. I picked out one of those sentiments from our Shine Bright sentiment strips. I like that one. Shine Bright, the world needs more of you. And I tend to try to surround myself with people like that anyway, right? Iron sharpens iron. That's what I always say. So, yeah, those are cards to pass on to all the friends. All right, and then for this card, once again, we're going to use those adhesive foam strips. And that way the disco ball will be popped up. And I'll put it on the back of the sentiment also. Running out of birthday cards, so I need more of those. And once again, we'll just use our liquid glue to adhere everything down to the front of this card. I think I do take some of those sentiment strips and I end up putting those in the inside of some of those cards just to have something in there, because there's so many great sentiment strips. You've got that birthday glow. That's such a great sentiment, though. I've never seen that one before. We're going to put a few of those little foiled stars down, the pink ones. And I use the magenta foil for those. But that's going to finish off me showing you how I made these cards, the 2 cards. Now I'm going to show you the final 4 cards that I have. So here's this one. I did use that stencil for the background, just shifted it up a bit. And then we've got this fun one that's got lots of great layers, has that other Shine Bright, and then the 2 that you already saw me make. What a fun set of products. I just love the idea of little disco balls and encouraging others to shine bright. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.